Intro time. Let's go. That's the intro. Done. Welcome. No, that's not it. Can't do it. You're staring at me like this.
I'm just staying quiet until a suitable intro has been
You're
aired.
eerily quiet. Okay, it's the Footbollocks
Stoicism.
Football Show episode.
No, there's no more episodes now. It's just a show that's on
Oh
every
fucking hell!
every,
Why
every
did nobody
week.
tell me?
I told you, man.
It's the Football Bollocks Talking Bollocks Show. It's the 4th of December. We got some midweek fixtures and some weekend games to talk about. A bit of a shitty Villa result, some controversy regarding the referees, as per usual. So let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Um, should we start with last week's games?
Yeah, let's go through the results. So, not a bad one. Average week in terms of our predictions, slightly better than average, maybe. First game was Arsenal Wolves. We both got a point for correct result.
Yeah,
I got
really, really
correct
late
score
goal
on
on
that
this
one.
one. Really, really,
Yeah, it was.
really annoyed me.
It was. Wolves had a fairly decent game, I feel. Um, they obviously got a really late goal, but I wouldn't say they didn't deserve it. But they had a bit of a late resurgence.
Yeah, they
Uh,
didn't completely sort of submit to Arsenal, did they? Like
no, I didn't
I,
get rolled
I
over.
kind of got a little bit worried at first when Arsenal scored two so quickly and looked so dominant and
I had the same
it
thing.
looked
Yeah, I
so
thought my
smooth, and I
score's
was
gone
just
out
like,
out
oh
the window.
crap!
Yeah,
I need an Arsenal player in my team. Oh, which one am I going to get? Oh, how am I going to get him in? All that. And so my ideal was sort of, if they get 2 goals, 2-0, I'll take that because then I'll get the bonus point for the correct score. But if Wolves do score, just please be Huang because he's in my FPL, and that was all I
yeah,
wanted. But I didn't get it, so it just took both away really. So I'm not pleased.
yeah. It went pretty perfectly this game for me actually, because I also got the correct score, so I got the extra point, and Saka got me an assist, and Zinchenko got an assist as well. So I got them both my fancy.
Ah,
Um, so yeah, good game for me anyway. Brentford Luton both got the correct score result.
yeah, not correct
Neither of us
score.
correct score. We both predicted a Brentford clean sheet,
Yeah.
um,
What?
which I mean,
What
based on the
was?
stats, not really a bad shout to be honest.
Yeah, I mean they
Um,
were pretty dominant. Um,
yeah, they were seriously dominant.
I kind of started to get a bad feeling the closer we got to kick-off that Brentford were just going to be way better than Luton, and I was going to look stupid for predicting 1-0, and I kind of do, but I still get the result point, so
Yeah, there
I'm
were
happy.
a lot more goals in the game expected. I suppose what we were thinking was that Brentford maybe tend to play better when they've got space to run into with their style of play, but they managed to create a load regardless. I think Luton away from home are just very conservative, aren't they? So they probably just allowed Brentford
Yeah.
too much time and
Well,
space
I
to
thought
do
it
their
would just
thing.
be Brentford holding the ball and playing essentially Luton into their own box, and Luton playing a super low, super tight block, and just because they're so physical and so used to defending, I think they would have just battled it out and just only conceded the 1 goal, or not many goals if much. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I don't think that was a
just
pretty
didn't.
reasonable prediction. To be fair, I don't think many people would have predicted Brentford to be quite that dominant. Um,
Yeah.
and all that creative, really. So yeah, both got the correct score, but fuck, I keep saying that. Both got correct result, not the correct score. Burnley, Sheffield United. This is a fun one.
Oh yeah, I was pretty confident on the Burnley win, but I didn't think it'd be quite that bad.
No, we both got the result. You went 3-1 Burnley, I went 2-1 Burnley.
Mm.
I mean, it was a weird game because in the first half, Burnley obviously got the really early goals, and they were basically just clinical, but they didn't completely take the piss. Sheffield United were
Mm.
in the game to create a few sort of semi chances. It was sort of in the underlying numbers, it was a reasonably even game at the end of the first half. Burnley were just better going forward and clinical, but then Sheffield United had that ridiculous red card, which was just completely moronic. And then
Yeah.
yeah, they got rolled over second half.
Mm. Yeah, I haven't actually watched a lot of the highlights this week, so I'm a bit in the dark when it comes to how bad the red cards were and things like that. But
Well, it was McBurney, who's one of Sheffield United's more experienced players,
yeah,
and he basically just kept elbowing Dar Rocher in the face. It was like, what the fuck are you doing? He got the first one. He got a yellow card for it. He went up
yeah,
kind of as players do. Sometimes they can be 50-50 and you're like his arms in a natural position, but like you can clearly see he kind of winds his elbow up. Doesn't get anywhere near
was
the
he
ball.
was he like this?
Yeah,
Bam.
he had like the crook in his elbow. He was
Ah,
clearly trying to get a bit of power behind it. And that was the first one. Could have been a red card, but he got a yellow. And
yeah,
then he literally did the same thing about 10 minutes later to the same player.
yeah, it's
Um,
weird.
just stupid. Like one of the more experienced players just completely let them down because they were 2-0 down, but they weren't completely out of the game. Um, and then yeah, Burnley were just allowed to kind of do their thing second half. Really, there's not too much to say about
Yeah, they
that.
finally looked the real deal.
Yeah, it came together for them a little bit. What was interesting actually is that they they seemed to change their style of play slightly. Um, I think they went at it slightly more pragmatically. They didn't change
Yeah,
anything majorly, but they obviously they recognised the gravitas of the game and they realised that they couldn't afford the kind of defensive fragility that has been costing them all season. And they sat a little bit deeper, didn't commit quite so many forward, and just made sure that they maintained control and didn't give too much away. Um, so yeah, they did play really well. You know, they're obviously, regardless of the red card, they were by far the better team. Um, so yeah, good result for Burnley.
yeah. I was just
Sheffield
upset
United
that
seems like they're gonna.
Jacob Ramsey didn't get involved really.
You mean Aaron?
Ah, yeah. Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, it didn't even come on, did he? I don't think.
No, not that I can remember. Um,
No, so he seems to be struggling to
yeah, I don't know if
make
he's
his
had an injury
marks.
or not, but should hope
Yeah, I
not.
don't know. You'd think there'd be a reason that he can't get some minutes in a game like this, where you know it was kind of inconsequential. By about 70 minutes, they'd wrapped it up.
Yeah,
Uh, but don't know. Give him a season, I suppose. It's one of those things where he's in a struggling side and he's young, so
yeah. I wonder
um,
if our buyback is like a multi-year deal, or if that expires after this season.
yeah, it might be a year-long thing. Don't know. Uh,
Well,
let's keep
either
an eye on
way,
it.
we have to get Bidace back. We just have to get
Yeah,
Bidace
man.
back.
Fuck.
I
He
don't know
looks
if
so
we've
good.
spoken about it too much on the podcast, but
No, I don't think we have, to be fair. But he's just on fire, isn't he?
yeah, absolutely on fire. All right,
Yeah.
we should probably get back to the Premier League show. Um, next game.
In next game, Forest Everton. Um, both got the result wrong on this one.
Yeah, did not predict this game.
No, I didn't watch it. I watched the highlights. It was like really tight. Nobody really carved anything proper clear cut. Forest controlled the ball, uh, which is maybe slightly surprising, but I suppose they're at home, so teams tend to find that easier to do at home.
Yeah,
Um, seems like Everton just did a bloody Everton, really.
yeah, the defensive quality on the day.
Yeah, they just defended well and got a goal on the counter. They just kind of execute the game plan perfectly.
Yeah,
Forest maybe a bit unlucky not to score. I went for a draw. I thought it would be tight. You went for a tight Forest win. Um, your theory has failed for the first time.
fuck.
You went for the 3-2.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many points I got in the end this week, but it's it's not a great week for me in general. I don't think.
Not great, not terrible to be fair. Um, we'll find out.
Well,
Um, Next game is Newcastle Man United.
oh man, this deserved at least a 3-0.
Yeah, yeah, Newcastle were all over them, weren't they?
Yeah, the two problems were Newcastle not being clinical because they performed to a similar level in this game as they did against us, where they beat us 5-2. It's just we actually tried to play and we actually tried to win the game and get back into it. Whereas United just looked the entire time after about the fifth minute like they were just playing not to lose or
Yeah,
not to concede too many. They
yeah.
never looked like they were actually trying to come out and express themselves and take on the
No,
Newcastle and impose themselves on the game. So they just yeah created very little and did their best to avoid letting Newcastle in, which they barely did
yeah. I mean,
anyway. So
we
yeah,
both got the result right. It was fairly easy one to predict, really, based on United's form and Newcastle's home form. But
yeah,
we both went for a lot of goals. I guess um, kind of hard to anticipate United taking that approach in the game because they don't tend to do that. But I suppose maybe given their form, they kind of just thought we need to edge out results. And obviously, it's a tough away game, so playing conservatively is not the worst idea.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Newcastle were
Somehow
unlucky to
Maguire,
score a few more goals, to be fair. So
yeah, somehow Maguire actually looking good in this game.
yeah, he's been all right recently, hasn't he? He's kind of found
I don't like it
his
because it's like you know how like we were talking about in the scouting episode that players can sort of get to a really high level and then temporarily get injured or just fall to a rotation option, but because they've never really started for a long time at the top level, they don't necessarily get the respect for the level they played at.
yeah,
And so when they get to that position where they're, just come off a long-term injury or they're, um, a rotation player in a big side, when they finally sort of get the move, all of a sudden their value jumps massively because
mm,
everyone starts recognising, oh, if you actually start him and put that belief in them, you suddenly get a much better player. Because we're thinking about
yeah,
that, like with Ceballos and all that. Yeah, well, I think it's a similar thing, really.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he is one of them. Like he's actually always been a pretty solid defender. It's just he's uh, he's just had a bit of a rocky time, and he's probably not like a team that wants to be top four. He's probably slightly out of his depth at that level, especially at teams that want to play out of the back and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
But
He just wants
when
to
Man
be in a low
United
block,
are in the kind
essentially.
of yeah, when Man United are in the kind of like seventh, eighth bracket and they're playing quite defensively, he's in his element there. Really, like he is actually a very good player for that kind of system and that level.
Yeah. How embarrassing is it that
So yeah,
United still can't get things together and they're still not even playing with an identity or the Ten
yeah,
Hag way. It's
it's weird.
just a
It's really bizarre because
bit messed up.
they've uh, they've got they've had injury problems, especially at the back, which is does can create problems, especially when you've got a style of play and a manager who wants to play kind of fluid football and he wants to play out the back. And they signed Sandro Martinez to be that player, and he got injured. And so you can kind of think, there's maybe reasons, but they've had Luke Shaw just come back from injury. Um, they've had like Varane and Maguire, who are not terrible on the ball by any means. And their midfield and attack has been quite settled. And they've had Hoyland come back from injury, and you just think they've had a bad start, but it'll come together when they get players back. But it's just not. They're just kind of getting worse. It's bizarre.
Yeah, Mount's been virtually non-existent.
Yeah, he's not even played. I think he did have an injury, but he wasn't playing when he was fit.
Yeah,
Um, it's just weird. It's like based on their performance last season, you think obviously Ten Hag is a good enough manager at this level, and you'd expect him to just start picking it up at some point. But
I think
So
the
it's really weird.
plan is probably to have um, Casemiro in a single pivot role behind a sort of reserve 8 in Mount and then a more advanced 8 in Fernandez.
Yeah,
And then in front
yeah, I
of
can
that,
see
of
it.
course, you could have like Ganacho, you could have Hoyland. I don't even know if Rashford's worth having at this point. Put Martial in
Yeah,
there
that's the thing
maybe.
as well. Like Rashford scored 30 goals last season, and it's like now he just looks awful. It's just
Yeah.
doesn't really make any
Wasn't there a
sense.
point at the start of the season where it was like 7 games in where it had like 0.02 XG per game or something?
Yeah, it's shocking. It's just bizarre, and it's like their attack's quite settled as well. You know, Fernandez, Rashford, they've been playing with each other and playing successfully with each other for years. Um, but they just can't create a chance between them at the moment. It's just kind of
Mm.
confusing.
Yeah,
Um,
strange. Anyway, next game.
yeah. What have we got? Well, we've got Bournemouth Villa. We'll do it at the end. So Chelsea Brighton.
Didn't watch the highlights. Saw Chelsea won though, so well done Chelsea.
Yeah. Well, Chelsea kind of nailed it, man. They were pretty impressive. They got 2 goals in the first half. They generally were the better team in the first half, and then
Any penalties?
Gallagher got sent off. They scored a penalty in the second half.
Okay.
Um,
I've just
but
been
yeah,
wary of
Gallagher.
Chelsea getting a lot of penalties this year.
Yeah, they have, but no, they did get one second half, but they were good value for their 2-0 lead at half time for sure.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah, Gallagher got sent off, and then you kind of think it's going to fall apart. And then they did. They were under the cosh second half. Brighton had a lot of pressure, but
Under the
Brighton didn't really play
cosh.
under the cosh. Yeah,
Kosh
yeah,
cast.
loads of the ball, but just didn't create anything.
Should we call it the Kosh cast?
Koshcast.
Yeah.
It's quite good actually.
Mm. We're under the Kosh. Come find us at kosh.com. Anyway, yeah, you were saying
Yeah,
Brighton
Brighton,
put them under the
Brighton,
Kosh.
kind of disappointing. I mean, I say that that's not even true, really. Um, they kept loads of the ball as you'd expect with a team who have a man up, and it's Brighton. But they just didn't create. It's kind of a bit of a
Yeah.
theme with them where they keep loads of the ball, but they're not creating very much.
Well, my thought was Chelsea have been really good in possession this year, holding the ball, and then against other possession sides, they've kind of been defensively solid enough in the midfield and defence that they've kind of held their own against those other high tempo possession based sides. And
Mm.
Brighton are just one of those sides that are really looking off it at the moment. So I thought, yeah, it'll probably be high scoring because Brighton always seem to have an ability to score a couple goals with their style. But I just think Chelsea are a similar style team, just a level above with the level of manager and level of player.
Yeah, I think my thinking was pretty similar. Really, I thought I went for 4-2 Chelsea, so obviously predicted goals. Yeah, I kind of just thought the same thing. Similar teams. Chelsea are in slightly better form. Brighton do just look off it. They're not scoring as freely as you'd expect them to be
Yeah,
and stuff. So yeah, both got the correct result. Both predicted. Well, I went 4-2. You went 2-1. So pretty close.
yeah.
Pretty close in terms of the scores. We both called that one pretty
You
accurately, I
almost
think.
got a triple point.
Almost. Yeah, I know.
Must
Um,
be upsetting.
yeah, yeah, slightly. I mean, it's annoying to yeah miss out on the big bucks. Um, Liverpool Fulham
Matt's
now.
in it for the money.
Weird game.
Liverpool Fulham. Yeah, I didn't watch this one either. All the highlights. I've been a bit
Have you
lazy
not
this
seen the
weekend.
goals? My God.
No, I have not.
So yeah, the game kind of went how you'd expect in terms of Liverpool were dominant,
Yeah,
created much more. Fulham just put away every chance they had. They were pretty effective on the counter attack. Um, and Liverpool, when you look at the stats, Liverpool actually created a lot in terms of expected goals and like big chances and stuff. but the actual goals they scored. So Trent scored a free kick, which was actually a Leno own goal because it came off the back of his head, but I think it was going to bounce
Oh,
in anyway, maybe. But it was a beautiful free kick. So that was
fair
0.05
enough.
xg. McAllister scored an absolute banger on the half volley, 0.03 xg.
Jesus.
Endo scored from the edge of the box, 0.09 xg. And Ireland scored another nice finish on the edge of the box, zero
Who?
point 0.1 xg. So they scored 4 goals from a total xg of about 0.2.
What was the final one?
Trent was 0.11. So the
And
total xg was
okay,
about 0.25 or 0.3 or something.
Jesus.
Um, yeah, it was just a ridiculous game. It was like every time. It was kind of like, when we beat Liverpool 7-2, and it's like every shot we took just seemed to go in.
Who scored for
Um,
Fulham then? Harry Wilson got a double, didn't he?
Harry Wilson scored. Yeah, so look, Wilson, Tete from set piece, I think, and David over Reed just from a counter attack.
Did Wilson get an
Um,
assist for the one of those goals?
not possibly the Tete goal because it was a set piece. Look. But yeah, Fulham were surprisingly good. I mean, what did we predict? I predicted 3-0 Liverpool. You predicted 4-1 Liverpool. So
Yeah.
we both underestimated Fulham's performance a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
the
really
game
did.
kind of, yeah. The
Do you
game
think it?
kind of,
Oh, sorry. You go.
well, it was just like the game went roughly how we thought. Just expecting Fulham to be at a worse level.
What do you think it was? Fulham being at a really high level, or do you think it was Liverpool being a bit vulnerable and the chances just being really easy for Fulham to put
Um,
away, or were Fulham just
I mean,
exceptional on the
I
day?
didn't watch the whole game. I watched extended highlights on Match of the Day.
Yeah.
So I think judging from that, Fulham. I think maybe Liverpool did allow Fulham a bit too much. Um, Maybe a bit of overconfidence. Trent played obviously that kind of midfield role, which tends to leave them a bit vulnerable. So there was kind of, Liverpool weren't solid by any means. Um, but Fulham had periods. They had chances outside of the goals they scored as well that they could have scored from. So, um, I mean, I just expected Fulham to not really create anything, but they definitely gave themselves enough to have a shout in the game. So yeah, it was a bit of both, but
Mm.
Fulham were better than I expected it to be anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of written off Fulham a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's one of them with Fulham where we both tend to underestimate them. There's certain teams where you got preconceptions in your head about them, and you think like my preconception of Fulham is that they're quite a solid team. They can defend well, and they've got some threat on the counter, but they're generally a bit frail and tend to struggle to score goals and create.
Yeah,
But they're
absolutely.
actually, when you look at the stats, they're actually not as defensively solid as
Well, we say
I
it
seem to
because they
think they are.
have a couple of individuals that are very high performers, like Polina, like Leno. So we kind of then start to look at them like a solid defensive side, but all it really means is you've got someone who cuts off a lot of balls into their sort of final third sort of thing, but obviously defensive third. So you've got someone who's cutting off a lot of those balls, and then the ones that do get through, you've got someone who saves a lot of them. So that
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily mean the defence is actually that high, of a high standard. It just means they often have protection in front and behind them. So
yeah,
it kind of makes the numbers all sort of shift.
yeah. No, I think my predictions going forward for Fulham it'll be um, yeah, just be aware that they're not actually defensively particularly solid, and they've probably got more in attack than I seem to think they've got as well. Um,
Fair enough.
yeah, so got next West Ham Palace. Uh, Both missed out on the points for this one.
Yeah, I was hoping for another 3-2,
Yeah, you went for another 3-2.
but that theory seems to have just collapsed over the course of a week. So yeah, or
Yeah, it's
perhaps I keep going with the theory and maybe it works more times than not. Maybe it
I don't
works
know.
three
Yeah,
times
I
over
wouldn't
two
give up on
times.
it completely.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what you say this immediately after I've missed a load of points. You
yeah,
think, of
yeah,
course.
that's tactical. Um, no, I mean it was a cagey game. I went 2-1 West Ham. You went 3-2 West Ham. Ended 1-1. The XG was almost exactly 1-1. Two defensive sides, two sides that clearly just struggled to create very much. There wasn't many shots in the game. Wasn't many big chances in the game. Um,
Yeah. Speaking of
yeah,
cagey, I recently learnt that Cajun is actually like a race of people.
Cajun.
Yeah, French Louisiana, sort of New Orleans kind of area. Um,
Oh, what, like Cajun as in Cajun chicken?
yeah, I think that might be where Cajun chicken comes from. To be fair,
Ah,
the Cajun people, and they have
I
this
see.
weird kind of like half French, half American accent
Hmm.
um, and language, almost dialect.
Yeah, it is this. It's the same Cajun, Cajun chicken, Cajun food is the Cajun people.
Ah, yeah, I love
I
Cajun
think
chicken. To be fair, so good on them.
maybe you need to go to Caja
Nah, nah, don't
or
tread on my
Louisiana.
toes. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about it being a cagey game. I didn't watch it again, so didn't really get an insight on it. But yeah, they're two frustrating teams, West Ham and Crystal Palace, because each time they play at home, you think, oh, this is where they really show their quality, and this is where they, pick up their points for the year that gets them that sort of upper mid-table sort of range finish potentially. And then they kind of sometimes deliver on it, sometimes disappoint on it,
Mm.
and sometimes they just don't look the team you expect. You'd
No, they're
think,
both inconsistent, aren't they?
yeah, most games they'd score a lot of goals, even if it's games they lose.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they
they're
just,
both tough to predict, really, and they're kind of they've got that thing where you always assume that a home team is going to have that bit of advantage, but some teams just don't suit playing at home based on their style. Like Bowen's goal scored away from home are way higher than scored at home.
yeah,
Um, and you think about Palace as well. They've got Edouard, who's quite pacey. They've got Eze and Elise, who like having space to run into. They're kind of those teams where sometimes being at home might be a disadvantage in terms of the players they've got.
yeah. The thing is with their wingers as well, if they can't figure out cutting inside off their fullbacks or whatever, if they can't get it to work, they don't have a whole lot else in their playstyle.
Yeah,
In terms of especially Elise on the right and less so Eze on the left because he kind of he's a little bit more dynamic and I think two-footed than Elise is. But yeah, if they can't get that working and interlink with Odds and Edouard, I think they just seem a bit dull sometimes.
yeah. That's the thing with them is they're hard to predict because sometimes they just don't seem to turn up. It's like they're kind of their team's quite consistent and stuff, but they just sometimes just don't seem on it on the day for whatever reason. Like there will be a reason somewhere if you analysed it, but um, it's hard to really figure out when that's going to happen. I just looked at the form uh, at the table in terms of home and away form, and Palace is the best away form in the league.
Oh, fair enough.
So yeah, they've actually where are they home? They've got significantly more away points than they have home points. And West Ham have basically got the same record home and away. So yeah, maybe something to be aware of when you're predicting them that they're two teams that are not particularly advantaged by playing at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Who have we got next?
We've got City Spurs.
Ooh, this one
Yeah,
I did have on in the background a bit. Um, Jack Grealish scored a very good goal.
yeah,
It's good to see.
yeah. I was happy for Grealish. He could have scored in the last minute as well if he didn't get pulled up for no reason.
Yeah, that was very controversial.
Imagine if that happened to Villa. Like, how furious would you be?
Oh God, just oh,
Yeah,
all of
that,
it,
that
all the
was a
fury, all the fury.
yeah, that was a
Give
bad one.
give me all the fury. I'd give it back out again.
Yeah, it was a bad one. It was a funny game. It was kind of frustrating for me because I kind of wanted Spurs to lose because they're kind of more directly challenging us in the league, um, and they probably deserved to lose based on how the game went. But City just weren't clinical. They missed a boatload of good chances, and
Yeah,
Spurs were very good when they could win the ball. They got up the pitch really quick,
yeah. I think
created
his
good
songs very
chances.
clinical as well, and
Yeah, they were clinical.
they're quick
So
with the
yeah,
ball at their feet as well. They're kind of like
yeah, Spurs did
Newcastle with
well.
their high intensity style. It's probably the reason they both got so many injuries. To be fair.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a thing earlier actually about Ange Postecoglou and hamstring injuries being a consistent problem throughout his career.
Ah,
Um, so yeah, but
maybe he's just banking on having enough money at Tottenham to
well,
circumvent
I
that
think
issue.
the article said that the hamstrings kind of taper off into the second season, so it might be a case of adaptation. It
Could
might
be.
be a case of like into a second season he can buy more depth for the squads and stuff like that.
Do you feel like he's a
Um,
manager who trains fitness into matches, or do you think he has a separate fitness sessions, heavy fitness sessions in the off season
what
and
do you mean?
breaks? What some managers, when building up fitness for a season, they think
Yeah,
you should do it by, you know, you just start training early off season, then you do friendlies, and then you get into matches, and that's how you
yeah.
build your fitness up by just building up into those different matches, and then
Mhm.
you've got more typical, like conventional idea is you have big fitness sort of camps in the off season to get players fit and
Oh
up
right,
to
yeah, okay.
standard.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one because having such an intense style of play like that, it's something you're probably going to be hyper aware of as a manager. Um, is like how your squad's going to deal with all the running basically and the intensity of the running and stuff. But
Yeah,
I don't know how much he's into the fitness thing. Some managers really are, aren't they? Some of them are notorious for wanting the fittest team and grueling training sessions and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's fair enough. They get paid a lot. Run.
yeah, yeah, but then I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, it's about how effective it is, really, isn't it? Like you,
Yeah,
you
you
don't
don't
you
want to
don't
get them injured.
yeah, you don't just want to work them for the sake of it. You just want to work. You want to work them to the optimal amount.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Spurs Spurs did well. Spurs did well to get a point, but they were just more clinical. City had
Well,
by far enough
I
to win the game.
guess while we probably thought generally we wanted City to win to keep Spurs further away from us, I think just the fact that City have even looked vulnerable at home and then lost players as well gives us more encouragement for us being able to beat them. In which case, we might look like, oh, instead of trying to keep Tottenham further down, we're now trying to keep clawing our way up away from City, sort of thing. And the sort of whole picture and the big picture looks different.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose you've probably got to think of it less in terms of the big picture and what this table will look like at the end of the season, and you've got to think of it more in terms of just opportunity to take as many points as you can from each game on an individual basis. And obviously, like you say, if City are not looking at their best, then that gives us the best chance of taking 3 points, and that's
Yeah,
basically all you should be thinking about. So yeah, especially as we play them in a couple of days, it's encouragement for us certainly if they're dropping points against Tottenham at home. We're definitely in with a shout there. So yeah, bit of a wild game. We both predicted City win, which was
hmm
pretty standard. Both predicted a lot of goals. Both predicted Spurs to score, but both lost the points on it.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and now another game where we both lost the points is Bournemouth Villa.
I
Yeah,
think maybe we should have started Diaby and Ramsey.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't even know where to start with the game because I feel like the system was off from the start, more or less.
Yeah,
I think some of the
Diego.
team
I
selection
found
was
Diego Carlos
wrong.
while he was involved a lot and put in a lot of good actions. I think that was generally his lack of spatial awareness and just not really seeming like he was up to the speed of the game.
No, didn't
Created,
have the game at all.
yeah, just kept creating these pockets of space in behind, and then it meant our defensive line wasn't necessarily in sync, so the offside trap wasn't working as well as it normally does. Um, and yeah, Solanke started just finding areas of vulnerability because there was uncertainty, and he could take advantage of that uncertainty.
Yeah, and Konza as well at right back. I feel like he was compensating for Carlos a little bit. He kept drifting in really narrow, and he was just leaving way too much space on Bournemouth's left hand side. I think it also has to do with the fact that Bailey started ahead of Konza rather than Cash because Konza playing at right back is nothing new this season. We've done it plenty of times, but
Yeah,
usually Cash plays ahead of Konza, so Konza can afford to come narrower because you know that Cash is going to naturally defend that right hand side a lot better. That's kind of like naturally the space he occupies. Whereas Bailey wants to be on the shoulder of the defenders, and he's not as aware defensively as Cash. So that left a lot of vulnerability over there as well. And Semenyo just fucking had a good game. He was just all over the place.
yeah, he looked good.
Um,
Clivert looked all right. I mean, there's arguments for them both having enough fouls in that game to
yeah,
effectively leave it.
true. Yeah, that would have changed the
Especially
game.
Semenyo.
Yeah,
What was
possibly should have
it?
been
Wasn't it a
sent off.
shirt pull once he was already on a yellow? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a shirt pull once he was on yellow, and his first yellow was also for a shirt pull for the exact same thing.
Yeah,
And it wasn't really a kind of he was challenging for the ball kind of shirt pull. It was just a blatant stopping the player getting forward, stopping a counter attack, straight yellow
yeah.
Really.
That's you just there's no excuse there really. I don't think.
No, so that was a frustrating one. It was kind of one of them where the I don't know where
The
when a
ref's
referee
just trying to
thinks
direct the game in a certain way.
yeah, it's like by the book that is a yellow card, regardless whether you've just given him a yellow for the same thing. You've got to give it again,
Yeah,
really.
and I think any
Um,
attempt to avert the course of the game just because of sentiment
yeah,
is should be viewed as breaking the rules and tampering with a fixture in the same regard as you know, well maybe not in the exact same regard as other ways, but it should be taken more seriously. I think because that's what it is. Like
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
even if the reason for it isn't necessarily as bad as it could be for like betting and match fixing and that sort of stuff. I'm not saying you punish it the same amount, but like it should be seen as the same sort of side of um, decision making as like, well, it's that poor that it's almost suspicious in a way. Like
yeah.
there
I
should
mean,
be
it's
some extra punishment for that
there's
sort of
no
thing.
other situation where it would be acceptable to deviate from the rules in that way.
Yeah,
Like if it when it's a genuine referee mistake or whatever, you can put it down to a mistake or incompetence even. But when it's not even incompetence really. It's a referee just deviating from the rules based on how the game is going, which is just wouldn't be acceptable in any other situation. So
yeah, it's just
um,
not really right.
no, but anyway, I mean, regardless of that, to be fair, Bournemouth were just a better team for whatever reason. I found this
Yeah,
game so disappointing because obviously we performed badly at Liverpool. We performed kind of badly at Newcastle. That was a bit of a weird game, but those games have the caveat of being early in the season, so the players are still getting used to each other and the system. Away from home at Liverpool, away from home at Newcastle, possibly the two hardest fixtures in the league. Um, whereas this game, Bournemouth are a decent side. They're in decent form, coming into their own a little bit. Um, so you don't expect it to be an easy fixture, but considering the form we're in and the quality we've got on the pitch and stuff, I just felt like the performance was so disappointing. It wasn't even, if we'd got a point, but we deserved three because we were the better team, then you'd be like, fair enough, that happens sometimes. But we just didn't
Yeah,
didn't deserve anything. We were just bad. There's so many players had bad games individually. The system was wrong from the start, I
yeah. I
think.
think we had a lot of rotation. Well, not a lot of rotation, but we had enough rotation and change of shape that it sort of knocked us off our tempo and
Mm,
our normal shape. Um, Obviously, we didn't want to start the kind of shape that we changed to when we changed at Tottenham into the 4-4-2, especially bringing on DRB, Cash and Moreno. We didn't want to do that too early because we are trying to save that for our next two games that we will come on to very shortly. Um, and if we're going to do that, we really need to seriously give them rest because it's like two games in 3 days or something, isn't it? Well,
yeah,
and then overall that's then three games in 6 days, I think. So yeah, really got to rest them in this one. And so we're always going to be a little bit worse off than we probably would be at our best. And yeah, I think Bournemouth, we knew they were going to be good. They have made other
yeah.
teams like Newcastle uh, look average when visiting there this year. So yeah, they did the same to us really. They've got a good coach there. They've got some good momentum. Could be a new managed bounce. Could be a new Bournemouth. I think potentially
I
we're
think it's
seeing a
just
new Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think it's just
Um,
the style of play
yeah,
settling with them really because they have a manager come in who's got a distinct kind of style, something that probably a lot of the players aren't familiar with, and it's just starting to settle and come together really.
yeah.
Um,
It's given
yeah, they
given a
were
chance for
good.
their forward players to shine, which is good.
They were really dangerous, and they've got some good players as well. They've got some dangerous attackers there for sure. Um, but yeah, we were just crap.
Yeah, off the pace a
We were
bit.
just rubbish off the pace. Yeah, I think Dougie maybe had his worst performance of the season. Gave the ball away more often than he usually would.
Yeah,
Wasn't The thing that was annoying with that game is that um, we we just looked weak in the tackle. Usually we
yeah, a little
can
bit.
win a game on the transition because we can dominate in the midfield and we've got the high line, and so we don't give teams a lot of space in the midfield, and that's how we kind of crowd teams out, win the ball, and get forward quickly. But we just seem to lose every tackle. We just seem to be second to every ball. We just seem to be lacking in intensity, and they were really energetic, and it just allowed them to create a load of chances against us. And then when we got the ball, they pressed us really well. We couldn't find the spaces we usually find.
Do you
Um,
think maybe we were just a bit tired, or
yeah, I think that's a possibility. Is that we've got European football. We haven't really seen that be a problem for us yet, but you have got to anticipate that at some point. And to be fair, the game in midweek against Legia Warsaw was, they're the hardest team in that group, and it was quite a difficult game. To be fair, they're a good team, so yeah, tiredness could definitely have been a factor. Um,
fan trouble?
yeah, I know. What the hell was that about? It's crazy.
Weird goings on. There was apparently the ticket allocations, but still no need for that.
Yeah, no, I
Anyway,
mean it was like 50 people arrested or something.
yeah. But old news now. Old news. We need to move swiftly on. Um, swiftly. Sorry. Swiftly. Let's get swifty. Um, yeah. So this week's games. We're starting with Tuesday night's games, aren't we? What have we got? Who have we got
Yeah,
coming
so
up?
so this week or last week, sorry, I got
Oh yeah.
seven
Well, yeah.
points.
Total points. Sorry.
I got seven, you got six. So we actually got the same number of uh, results right, but I got the bonus point at Arsenal, basically.
Ah.
Um, so totals are 40 to 47 now. I gained
Oh.
1 point.
And how many weeks
Um,
have we done it?
that is 2, 4, 6. That was number 7.
Okay. So we're averaging
So
about
6 or 7 points a
six.
week, we're averaging. Yeah,
Yeah.
not too bad. So that was an average week for us, really.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Take it.
Yep. So yeah, this week, midweek, we've got Wolves Burnley tomorrow night.
Ooh, interesting. Because Burnley have started scoring goals.
Yeah, it's how much you think that result is an outlier because they're playing the worst team in the league and
Yeah.
against they had a red card, or whether you think that will kind of kickstart a Burnley resurgence or something. Um, it's how
Burnley,
much weight you put
could
on that
they
result, really.
be on a resurgence? Wolves did look pretty decent against Arsenal in the second half, in moments at least. Ooh, it's hard, it's tough, it's tough. I think you expect Wolves to score at least two here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 2-1 Wolves.
Yeah, I'm getting that feeling.
I think that's a pretty sensible shout, really. You expect Burnley to perform because they've underperformed in terms of points. You know, there've been some games where they've looked good and
Yeah,
they've looked dangerous, and yeah, you would probably expect them to get a goal, especially with that boost of confidence. But um, yeah, it's hard to really predict that they're going to have a massive upturn in form based off the back of that one result.
I think I'll
Um,
go 3-1 to be honest. Um,
yeah, that's a good shout.
I back Wolves and Gary O'Neill at home more so than I do Burnley away. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'd
Wolves have
say
had some banging
they're on
results at
for a
home.
win, and I think they're on for a bigger win at some point because they have looked decent and they're very narrow winners most of the time. While they're not one of the top teams in the league, I do think against some of the smaller teams they could probably do with scoring a couple more goals, and we might see that here with Burnley's defensive frailties as well. So yeah, 3-1 for me.
Yeah. Okay, Luton Arsenal. This is kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, we've got Luton picked up a couple of decent results at home this year.
Yeah, and
Surprising.
Arsenal have not blown teams away all that often.
No, they haven't. But some of that football they played in the first half against Wolves looked great.
Yeah,
Luton Town. Is it Wolves they beat recently? I think they did, didn't
I
they? Yeah.
can't remember. They beat Palace last week.
And they beat
No, they
Wolves.
they drew with Wolves earlier in the season.
Oh, they drew with Wolves.
And
Okay.
they drew with Liverpool at home. Beat
I
Palace
guess
at
what I'm trying
home.
to say is I think a similar thing will happen with Luton and Arsenal as Wolves and Arsenal. Except I think Arsenal will just be slightly better off. So I think I'll go 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Uh, Luton Arsenal.
But then they could go even better and go 3-1.
It's a tricky one because there's a part of me that's thinks Luton can get a draw. I mean, if they can draw against Liverpool, they obviously can. And but yeah, no, Arsenal have got a lot about them, and
A bit more
they did look
structured.
better in attack the weekend than they have done. They kind of unlocked Erdegaard at the weekend, didn't
Yeah.
they?
But they're
They
still
finally
vulnerable
kind of
to a late goal, so I could easily see Luton scoring from a corner later on.
yeah. I'm going to go for an Arsenal clean sheet. I think
Oh,
I'll go.
1-0.
I'm going to go 3-0 Arsenal.
Oh, Matt. Swinging your bag of candy around.
So where you went? Did you go 2-1 Arsenal?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So that's Tuesday.
Yeah, then we've got the well run derby. First thing on Wednesday.
Oh, Brighton Brentford.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting game actually.
But not so well playing at the moment. Brentford in the better form.
Yeah.
Brighton considered the better side. Definitely different styles. Brentford do typically tend to be like giant killers. Will go away and disrupt bigger teams. But I think Brighton have generally come out on top. No, actually, it's been
You
quite even. It's
got
been
to
quite
think
even.
that Brentford are going to have some threat on the counter with the way that Brighton push up.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, you got to think Brentford are going to get some chances.
I'm gonna
And
go. I think I'm gonna go 3-2 Brentford.
ooh, the
Big
3-2s
shout.
again, the
Yeah,
favourite.
big shout.
I think it's not a bad shout. I'm kind of erring towards a draw or a Brentford win. It's hard to back Brighton in their form, really.
Yeah. What
Um,
else are you gonna do, man?
I might go 2-2. Desmond.
Desmond, how you doing on this Monday afternoon?
Ooh, Palace Bournemouth. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
don't like that. How the hell do you predict that?
you talk about your most similar game that's happened. I think
Mm,
was probably Crystal Palace Spurs at Selhurst Park.
maybe, yeah.
But I think Bournemouth will just be a lower quality version. So
What was the Palace Spurs score?
2-1 Spurs. So I can see this being like
Okay.
a Desmond.
Desmond.
Yeah, come on. If you're going to say Desmond, I'm saying Desmond. You're not getting away with
Yeah, it's
being the
not a
only one.
bad shout. That's quite a lot of goals for a Palace game. That's my only thing.
Yeah, it is, but not for a Bournemouth game. So
No, tricky. I might go 1-1. I think.
ooh,
I think Palace will be quite conservative, and they do defend well.
yeah,
I
okay,
reckon they'll be quite effective at shutting Bournemouth out, but they won't really offer too much. And so yeah, even Stevens 1-1. You've gone 2-2. Okay,
yeah.
what have we got?
Got Fulham, Notts Forest.
Oh God,
I know
another
this
hard
one's
one.
grim, isn't it? Because you got Nottingham Forest do score a lot of goals away on occasion. Um,
Ugh.
if they could be penetrative with Elanga and Gibbs White, Elanga's been as good as almost if not as good as Diaby this year so far in terms of goal contributions.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's been good, hasn't he? Been popping up. It's difficult.
Who scored the goals for Fulham? Did I already ask this today?
Yeah, Wilson, Reed,
Wilson.
and Tete from a set piece.
Who was the last one? Sorry.
Tete.
Tete.
Mm.
Yeah, that's not. You've only got Wilson there. That's really consistent.
Yeah, Fulham have failed to score in quite a few fixtures this year. Um, but
I
they
could
beat
see a
Wolves at
Forest
home
win.
3-2 the other day. God, Forest are in a bit of a rut, but it's not. They've not exactly been performing badly, to be honest.
There could be a 3-2
Um,
on here.
yeah, it could be. Well, they lost against West Ham 3-2, but that easily could have been a draw or a Forest win. Lost to Brighton 3-2, easily could have drew that game. And then they had that game against Everton, which went completely differently, where they maybe just went a bit more defensive. But uh,
Do we go?
God, didn't have a clue, man.
I think I go Fulham. I don't know whether to go 2-1 or 3-1 or 3-2. That's my thing. I think Fulham we don't typically see score a lot of goals, but they did against Liverpool, of course. But there's a different amount of possession. Forest are trying to be West Ham, really. So
Ooh. They've actually got goals per game are exactly the same for Fulham and Forest.
ooh, maybe I'll go Fulham 2-1 against Forest.
Oh my God, I don't know. It's either going to be a 1-1 or one of them's going to sneak it, but it's like which team sneaks it.
Or it could be a 3-2.
Could be.
Go for the
Yeah,
bonus
they don't.
point.
Neither team really scores enough for that.
Forest do.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Forest. Fuck it.
Ooh,
So will you
big
go 2-1
shout.
Fulham?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. Okay.
Um, this one, Sheffield United Liverpool. I want to talk about big numbers here. That's what I want to talk about. But I don't know how high to go. I think Sheffield
Yeah.
United are going to be depressed. I think Liverpool are going to be on a bit of a high after that emotional roller coaster against Fulham,
Mm.
and they're going to see City drawing. They're going to see Spurs drawing.
Villa drawing.
See Villa drawing. I think they'll just get excited and run away with this one. Um, I, I'm thinking at least 4 goals for Liverpool. Don't know whether to go like 6 goals for Liverpool.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, honestly. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Sheffield United lost by a bunch of goals at home,
I
and it's not
think,
as if they've improved since then.
yeah, I think I'm going to say 5-1 Liverpool
5-1.
here. Yeah,
Cameron Archer to sneak one.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they'll just not want to take another big losing scoreline at home, and maybe second half the manager just goes, look, this game's lost. Just don't let it be a nil
Yeah.
on our name.
They might have a new manager by that game, or at least a caretaker manager.
Oh,
Apparently about to sack him.
oh, that Burnley lost really the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because they. I was looking at how much each team had spent today, and Sheffield United have spent over the last 3 years. They've spent net about £5 million.
Shit.
Um,
A lot of big
Burnley and
sales in the summer though.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Burnley have spent about 100 million over the last 3 years, including buying one of Sheffield United's best players in the same year that they came up with them.
Is
Um,
that Burge?
yeah,
Hmm.
even Luton have spent more than Sheffield United. Bournemouth has spent significantly more. So I think it is quite tough. It is quite harsh on the manager, but
Yeah,
they just seem like they're not going anywhere, and it's
they're
kind of
not really
hard to hold
cut out
the manager
for the
on
level,
that.
to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. No, so it's a tough one, but it seems like they're about to sack him. So I think I'll just go for a 3-1 Liverpool. No, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0.
Oh, okay, it's fair enough.
You've gone 5-1.
5-1 Liverpool, yeah. Some big calls.
Okay. Okay.
Let's do United Chelsea, I reckon.
United Chelsea. Hmm. Hmm.
Ooh, that was a yawn.
There was a yawn.
Hmm.
Fuck knows what's going to happen here. United is
Yeah,
shit. Chelsea are all right.
but I could see United just shutting up shop and getting like a 1-1.
Yeah, they've been grinding results, and they are one of those teams where home form you've got to think has an influence when they're playing in like the biggest stadium in the league.
Yeah,
Um, although the
Chelsea
home,
could nick it.
yeah, I wouldn't. Oh God, it's really hard.
United could also nick it.
My initial thought was 2-2, but then I thought, can I see United actually scoring that many goals? Maybe not.
I don't think I can.
No,
I
might
think
have
they
to go.
might score from a corner. I'm going 1-1, I
Yeah,
think.
I think 1-1's a good shout, but I'm tempted by the Chelsea win. But
Yeah.
then these emotional games, teams tend to pull performances out of their asses when it comes to these like old rivalries and stuff.
Hmm.
And I don't think United are going to want to lose to Chelsea at home. But it doesn't really matter if they want to lose or not because they're rubbish.
United!
I'm going
It's a
to
little
go with
Ginge
a
impression there. Angry Ginge.
2-1 to Chelsea.
Ooh, I thought about going for that, but I'm supposedly I'm influenced as much as the narrative is by these old rivalries.
Yeah, I
Go on,
think
then. Well,
there is an influence there. Uh,
are
we'll
they?
see.
They're close to each other in the league, aren't they?
They
Oh
are
no, they're not. They're five
Chelsea.
points away from each other.
Oh God, it's funny with Chelsea. Like they don't have any points, but you see them each week and you think, oh, they're improving. They're still doing stuff. They're still dangerous. They just don't have any points, though.
We're still second highest scorers in the league, which is good.
Yeah, just need to sort out the defence, don't we? To be honest.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
our
So
game now is that doesn't seem like enough fixtures. Is
yeah,
there a
there's two
Thursday?
more on the next day.
Oh shit.
But we'll
Okay.
talk. Let's talk about Villa City. Um,
Okay.
so the big news, obviously, is Rodri out.
Yeah.
So we'll have Kamara coming back, who was a big miss, obviously,
Yeah, I think
against
we
Bournemouth.
maybe didn't consider that to be as much of a factor as it was.
Yeah. Did we have
It did
Tielemans
look.
start in that game?
Yeah, Tielemans started. Tielemans was okay, but he's just a very different player. He was trying a lot more risky passes, which obviously gives you a bit of creativity, but he gave the ball away more than Kamara would, and he was okay in the tackle, but he was kind of like, he made some good tackles. He broke the play up relatively well, but with Kamara, it's you can rely on him
Yeah.
consistently to do it. With Tielemans, it's like he might just miss that tackle.
I think we needed to play a different midfield there. Like from what I
Yeah,
saw, having the three with McGinn in there, it made them all feel, I think, too free, and they were too advanced, and they just kept finding little pockets of space between the defence and the midfield line. But then when
yeah,
we
it just
switched to that 4-4-2, it dropped them both so deep because they knew, well, we're both the DMs now. That's like sorted. That's certain. With both DMs, and we will push forward, obviously, and try and improve on attacking output and etc. But our main job is defensive midfielders,
yeah,
and I think that improved our solidity a lot. And wasn't quite as nervous when we were in that position. I think as well, you need someone like an Aerobanum in that game because McGinn's not a six. Dougie, while he can play at six, he's not really a single pivot, and Tielemans
no,
certainly isn't a six, and he's been
no,
playing quite advanced this year. So I think that was a good game to potentially try out a physical youngster like Aerobanum who's shown promise at six. Um,
yeah. I agree. It would have been a really good game to give him a go. I think
yeah,
because that is a an area of weakness in our squad. Is if Kamara gets injured, there's no one, there's no senior player at least who comes in and plays a very similar role and is a similar kind of player. You've got Dendonka who has that defensiveness, but he can't get out of tight spaces like Kamara can. And Aerobinim potentially can be that player. He is potentially the one player in the squad who you think would be a good direct replacement for Kamara. But
yeah. But
um,
as we said, we've got Kamara back now, so
yeah,
it's
so
going to
Kamara back for
be
this game.
potentially a full strength 11, I think.
Yeah, should be. Yeah,
Well,
we've got Ramsey and Moreno back.
ignoring obviously
Yeah, the long
Mings
term.
and Buendia.
Yeah.
If you look at the short term, Moreno is back, Ramsey is back. Haven't heard anything about them being out. Watkins was back and he didn't look like he was suffering.
No, yeah, I
Um,
think it will be. Yeah, pick the bunch.
yeah, so
Full
with our
choice.
full strength 11 at home against City, and they're missing Rodri. Who else are they missing? Let's have a look.
Grealish is out.
Grealish suspended, Rodri suspended, Nunez and De Bruyne still injured.
Yeah, Doku also went off against Spurs, but
Yeah,
he kind of like limped off, but it just looked like a knock, so I don't think he'll be out, but potentially.
might be on the bench potentially.
Mm,
Yeah, he's going to be scary if he comes on.
yeah, Christ.
But
What do we do about him? Do you think we play Cash right back?
I think Cash is best to deal with him because I believe Konsa likes to drop back a bit more, be quite reserved and
Yeah, he
bit of
Konza would give him
a
way too much space.
yeah, a bit of a sweeper, whereas Cash will sort of jockey you and be right on your toes, sort of thing. So I feel like that would be probably a slightly better solution.
Mm,
to stopping him actually getting in behind,
yeah,
or at least cutting in and getting space that way.
yeah. This would be a lovely game for. Do you know in pre-season we experimented with Pau Torres at left back,
Yeah.
and Mings and Carlos, or Mings and Conzo in central defence, and then Cash at right back,
Hmm.
and kind of swap the inverted system around to the left. This would be a lovely game for that, where we can kind of double up with a centre back and a full back on Doku, but then keep the general structure with moving over to the left hand side. But there's no one we can really do that with Mings injured. Um,
Yeah, and I don't know if you play. I don't know if you start Ramsey in this one, or you certainly don't start Zaniolo if you're going to play that way.
it's really tricky. I don't know how we'll set up because McGinn. I
Way
don't
B
like
would have been
McGinn on that
ideal.
left hand side. Um, McGinn's obviously got to play, but I don't
Mm.
think he should play on the left. So I
Yeah,
think,
he's much
and if
better
you're
on
not
the
playing
right.
McGinn on the left, you've got to play Ramsey. You'd say. Um,
Yeah, Ramsey on the. No, sorry. McGinn on the right. I think Kamara, Dougie, typical midfield. I
yeah,
don't know if it's worth starting Kamara. Sorry, not Kamara. Tielemans. And playing a three in midfield just because.
yeah, maybe Tielemans actually. He's looked good in that kind of advanced inside
Mm,
wide
but I
midfielder.
think we want to
Um,
be more direct in this one, really.
yeah, he's the kind of player you want for threading passes, but we probably want runners, don't we?
Perhaps in the second half, if we sub on a Bailey or we sub someone on late on, like a Duran, he can then come on to thread those passes through a tight
Yeah, I
defence.
agree. Yeah,
Um, I feel like he does deserve more starts, but maybe this is just a level bit too high where we need more reliability and trust and good
yeah, it's
form.
just
That
not the right fixture for him really
yeah,
to start in that position. I wouldn't like say Diaby was injured or whatever. I wouldn't mind him playing attacking mid like off the striker. But
yeah,
I think in that
he's decent.
midfield position, we will need direct runners, and he is kind of liable to give the ball away because he tries a lot of risky passes, and it's not the game for that because you just get punished.
Yeah, he is relishing the
Um,
number eight role and getting forward more. You can see
yeah,
even in the way he sort of takes on players and runs about with the ball more. He's just a bit more dynamic because he sees himself differently as a different style of player.
yeah, yeah. He has looked good, but no, I agree. Probably better as a sub for yeah those balls into the box or something late on in the game.
What do
So
you
yeah,
think the
I think
scoreline's going to be?
uh,
This is a tough one,
uh,
isn't it? Real tough one.
I mean, if I wasn't a Villa fan, I'd be predicting a
I think
City win.
Desmond I'd go for if I wasn't a Villa fan.
Really?
Yeah, but because I am a Villa
Yeah.
fan, I've got to predict a Villa win, don't I?
Ooh, yeah. Oh God.
I'm either thinking 2-1 or 3-2. No clean sheets in this one, unfortunately.
No. Imagine if the game we keep a clean sheet is against City.
Oh my god. What have you
Um,
done? You
yeah.
created a
Fuck.
monster. um, oh, it is so tough because we know we're predicting something that's somewhat unrealistic,
Yeah.
but at the same time there is a reason for it. So
Yeah.
how far do you go with it? Is basically the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard. I do think like even with if I take my Villa hat off, oh, I can do it literally. Uh, um,
Okay, speak truth, Villa hat off, man. Oh,
no,
it's gone.
it's too cold. I'll metaphorically take it off, and even metaphorically taking it off, our home form we've won every single game at home for
Yeah,
the last 13 games. They're missing Rodri. Their form without Rodri is not great. They've had a few bad results recently. They've had
3-2.
dropped points against Wolves. Like, there's a lot of reason to give Villa a chance in the game, even without the being a being a fan thing. So
Yeah,
you're
3-2. I
going three
reckon.
two.
Yeah, you
Ooh
convince me
boy.
because just the home form. I think
Yeah.
if Wolves can do it 2-1,
Yeah.
And that was that with Rodri missing? I think it was.
I think it was. Yeah.
I think we can do it. I think we're better than Wolves, especially at home. So add another goal on, and
Oh God, it would be so good if we won 3-2, wouldn't it?
with the style of play that we have, I think we're more defensively a little bit more frail. So we'd add another goal, and then you get
Oh
3-2.
God, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm going to have to predict a Villa win because I'll just kill myself if we actually did win. I didn't even get any points for it.
Yeah, you'd much rather be in the situation where you sat there losing points because you predicted your own team to win
Yeah, yeah,
and being
yeah,
frustrated than being almost distraught because you bet against your own club
yeah,
and
yeah.
lost
I
out on
think.
points, but at the same time they did
So
win, so they really surprised you.
I'm between 2-1 and 3-2.
I
What
think
about 3-1?
I think you should go for
3-1. Has
nil
anyone
nil
considered 3-1?
because that's the most popular scoreline with the memory games. So
You're sending me down up the garden path, or whatever the phrase is.
down the
You've
garden
gone 3
trail.
2 up the forest tree. I'm going
Crikey.
3-1 Villa.
Um, wow, wow,
Yeah, bit of a silly one, but
wow.
you got to go with the Villa
You
victory.
are Matt Walton.
We're just gonna nail it on the counter, man. Watkins 2 goals, and
Diaby,
hmm,
Bailey, Douglas Luiz free kick, long shot.
yeah, I'm thinking a set piece of some sort. John McGinn. Come on, it's got to be McGinn.
Oh, do you think
McGinn.
like a on the ground corner, dummied by Ramsey straight through to McGinn,
Yeah,
hits it
it's
top
gonna
bins.
it's gonna fall to him on the edge of the box from a
90th minute.
separation.
Can you imagine a late winner against City as well?
Oh God, I'd lose my shit.
Yeah, that'd be
I'd
crazy.
lose my mind.
That'd be amazing.
Well, yeah, we can pray.
All right.
So we've gone for the Villa win.
Yes,
Up the
predicting the next
boys.
games. Let's go.
So Everton, Newcastle, Everton at home. Kind of a funky one.
Ooh, yeah. Everton have not been good at home at all.
They've not. No, they're 18th in the league based on home form. One win.
Newcastle have had a
Newcastle
couple
away form.
good games away.
14th in the league away from home. One win, 2 draws, 3 losses.
That win was 8-0 though.
True, but it was Sheffield United.
Who beat Everton? Or did they draw with them? They
I
drew
can't
with them,
remember
I
actually.
think.
Yeah, they drew. Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so could Newcastle beat Everton 3-0 like United
It's
did?
quite
Could they beat them
difficult.
2-1? I think they could beat them 2-1.
Could they draw with them 1-1?
That could definitely happen. What was their game last year? I feel like it was quite close.
Last year?
Yeah, there was a one.
Um,
There was a Newcastle
4-1
1-0.
Newcastle. Yeah, Newcastle 1-0.
Okay, so yeah, Newcastle a lot
Hmm.
better than them recently at least. But
Tricky one.
Everton looking better recently as well. So
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I think based on Newcastle's
I'm gonna
away
go
form.
Newcastle 2-1. I think.
All right, I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, I can't miss out on a Newcastle win. Oh, I was disappointed with my um, lack of action on the captain shout. I went for Salah. He did make the most sense,
Yeah,
but
I went for Sal.
I did call out um, what's his name? Right back,
Trippier.
Trippier. I did call out Trippier as a good captain choice, and
Yeah,
he's
shit.
probably been the best on my team in the end.
Yeah, yeah. I was a bit annoyed with Salah to be fair, because I was I was flitting between Salah and Haaland as everyone was because they both had good fixtures for goals. But then part of me did think Watkins,
Yeah,
and a part of me thought Son as well because I thought there's going to be so many goals in that game, and if someone's going to score for Spurs, it will be Son.
yeah. I was
Um,
frustrated. Bowen played and didn't do anything because if he didn't play, I would have got 9 points from Braithwaite.
9 points from Branthwaite.
Yeah,
Did she get bonus from a clean sheet?
yeah. I think he was just a
Fucking
good
hell.
player in the game as well.
Fair, yeah. No, Salah was annoying. So that's Everton, Newcastle. One more
That ended
game.
on a bit of a low.
Spurs, West Ham.
Oh,
Derby.
who's at home? Spurs.
Yeah,
Okay, could be another 3-2 here.
could be.
Could be a 3-1.
Could be. Bowen could cause some serious trouble.
Could do.
Spurs have got Romero back, but apart from that, no other significant returns.
They are playing well though. Son
Yeah,
scoring goals still.
yeah. I mean, Spurs are the favourite for sure. They've been good even in games where they've not had their best players. Um, but West Ham away are just good, and they've got Bowen back now. Got to expect them to get a goal at least.
Yeah, I think so. Kudus is looking good as well.
Hmm.
Maybe 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good shot. Uh, I'm going to go for the 3-2 this time.
Oh,
Fuck you. I'm having it.
oh, that's a bit rude. I feel attacked
Sorry,
personally.
mate. I just feel like you've been owning the 3-2s. It's not fair.
Well, that's just who I am. Can't apologise for that, I'm afraid.
I'm actually going to count up how many 3-2s you've predicted.
What, across this week and last week, or overall?
Total. You didn't go for any in the first week, you weirdo. You hadn't come to your theory by
Yeah.
that point. Or the second week. Still developing the theory at that point.
Yep.
Or the third week.
Yep.
Oh, or the fourth week. What the hell?
Mm.
Okay, so it was in the fifth week where you came to you had the light bulb moment. You went for the 2-3-2s that week.
How
You
many did
went
I get?
for uh, you got one.
Okay.
Well, that was West Ham
So
Forest.
basically, what's happened is I've had one result off a random theory and jumped on the hype train, and it's not panned
Well,
out
you've
for me.
had that. That was that week. You had one. Week after you predicted 1-3-2. Last week you predicted 1-3-2. Yes, yeah, no, one. Oh no, 2-3. Yeah, no. So you've predicted 3-2
It's how
five
many I've
times.
predicted 5 goals in as well. That's also the theory because I've started doing that more on the
Yeah,
basis that
yeah,
I can get the result point, and if I do get the score point and it's a big score, I then get the bonus point as well.
it's a good theory. It's a good theory.
Mm,
I'm not knocking it. That's why I'm stealing it.
yeah.
Spurs West Ham 3-2 Spurs.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What are you going?
Um, yeah, I'm sticking with the 3-1. I think West Ham are probably just going to be a step below Spurs.
Yeah,
We've seen they haven't quite had all the juice in the tank to finish people off sometimes, and I think they'll probably suffer from that in this game and just be a little bit dull. They won't look as sharp as they possibly need to be to get a result here. And Spurs, I think with that intensity they have in the first half, could potentially blow them away depending on how
yeah,
West
I can
Ham come
see
out.
that. Fair.
So yeah, I'll stick with that. I think.
Well, that's that.
Bang, all of it done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if anyone's still watching, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want.
Up
I
the
guess
Villa.
up the Villa, um, and yeah, go and get on with your life, you lazy motherfucker.